What's up, everybody? I'm Bob Walters. This is Locked Up Sports. And we had some baseball drama last night. The Braves play late inning long ball on a great comeback against the Phillies to even up their series 1-1. The Dodgers are in trouble. Starting pitchers again cannot get out of the first inning. They are down 0-2 on the brink of elimination. And we speak literally with the guy who wrote the book on Coach Prime, Jacques Taylor, all coming up next on Locked Up Sports.
Strikeouts. That ball's hit well. Darno, deep left. Goodbye. Two-run home run. It's a one-run game. Riley in the air to left field. On the run, Marsh! There it goes! Austin Riley has given the Braves the lead in the eighth. He deals a 2-2. Castellanos in the air to right center field. Harris is on the run. Harris at the track. He leaps and he makes the catch. Harper might be doubled up. The throw gets away. The throw to first. It's over. It's over.
Brian Anderson, as heard on TBS last night, Game 2 between the Braves and the Phillies. A classic, an instant classic. Down in Atlanta, the Braves with a furious comeback, and they even the series one game apiece. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Bob Walters. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to rate, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to review what you see here. And we got a big one for you here today. We got Coach Prime, the guy who wrote the book on Coach Prime, Jacques Taylor, here with us. The book comes out today. So on the day the book comes out, where is the author? He's right here on Locked Up Sports. So we got a big one, but let's get to the baseball first. And just real quick, before we even talk about the Phillies and the Braves from last night, which was a classic right off the bat, the games are already started today, and the Astros have themselves a 4-run first inning over the Twins. That series tied 1-1. Minnesota was a raucous ballpark for the first two games of the wild card series. The Astros go in there and they shut them up right away. 4-0. Abreu with a 3-run home run in the first inning, and they jump all over Sonny Gray, the former Yankee. They jump all over him. 4 runs in the first inning. The Twins threatened in the bottom of the inning. They left 2 on, second and third. We are now in the top of the second, and it's 4-0 Houston. Again, that series tied 1-1. Later on tonight, you got the Orioles trying to stay in the series as they drop the first 2 at home. And now they go to Texas, and they are in deep, deep trouble. It's a young team. They're going to be in a lot of trouble. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's start with last night, the Braves and the Phillies, and it was all Philadelphia. They got a run in the first. They got 2 in the third, 1 in the fifth. Wheeler was just mowing them down. 10 strikeouts. He looked great. And then Darno hit a 2-run home run to get him right back in the game. They took Wheeler out. The bullpen came in, and they gave up another home run to Austin Riley in the bottom of the 8th inning, a 2-run home run that got the Braves. The Braves were dead. The Braves were dead and buried at 4-0 in the 6th inning of Game 2, down a game already. They hadn't scored a run yet in the series. And they just listen, like I said, they played long ball. They got a double play to end it on a questionable base running error by Bryce Harper, who was on first. He's the tying run. Listen, I know what he was trying to do. He was trying to make it so if the ball hit the wall or if it wasn't caught, he could score and tie the game. But you cannot get doubled off at first base in that situation. That you can't have that happen, especially on a ball hit to the wall. He was, he was 15 feet from third base when the ball was caught. That is way too far. Because the throw-in even missed the cutoff guy. It was picked up by the third baseman, threw to first. They got him by a half a step, trying to get back. And just like that, the Braves and the Phillies are 1-1, heading back to Philadelphia. And listen, I don't know if you hear from the Phillies again. Now they have it's a wild ballpark in Philadelphia. That fan base is going crazy for that team. Unfinished business from last year. We'll see what they could do. I don't know if this finishes. This would finish a lot of teams, especially against a good team like the Braves. You had them. You had your foot on their neck. They were down. Your foot was on their neck. All you had to do was finish the job and get 9 outs. They couldn't get them. They gave up 4 runs in those last 3 innings, 2 2-run homers, and just like that, Minter with the win, Hoffman the loss, Iglesias got the save for Atlanta, and man, that's going to be a hell of a series going back. That thing might go 5. It's either going to go 5 or the Braves are going to win it in 4. Is what's going to happen. Because I don't see the Phillies winning 2 in a row, but the Phillies are a resilient team. They seem to be on a mission. That ballpark goes crazy for them. Let's see what happens. But for the Braves, that 7th, 8th, and 9th last night saved their season. A great season that the Braves have had. They won the division. The division was over in July. They've kind of just been coasting through, and now they got the first round bye, and they weren't ready to play in game 1, and they weren't ready to play halfway through game 2. The bats were silent, and they woke up late and get them 5-4 win in a dramatic 5-4 win, and that kind of welcomed October baseball this year, 2023. And then the late game, the Dodgers can't get out of their own way. The pitchers can't get out of the first inning. Arizona with 3 runs in the first inning last night. They have 9 runs in the first inning in the first 2 games of that series, and they have a commanding 2-0 lead as they win 4-2. And listen, give Mark Mancini all the credit in the world. He's I'm going to ask him a lot of numbers because he's getting everything right. He's not with us today. I have work. The time difference, he's out in L.A. He was only able to do it at about 6 o'clock my time, but I'm not going to be able to do that because I have work. So we're going to try and get him tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. We'll have him. I'm going to talk to him because I want to talk to him because he's been right about everything. He was right about the Steelers. He was right about... listen, give him credit. So... quick update, as we were talking about before, you got the Astros currently with a 4-0 lead, bottom second, heading to the bottom of the second, and the Twins coming to bat, and that's big for Houston. Kind of shuts that crowd up. It gets it because that's a wild place, and now maybe it comes into the back of Minnesota's head all the troubles they've had in the playoffs in the past. Tonight, we got the Orioles and the Rangers. The Orioles on the brink of elimination, losing the first 2 games at home. That's a young team. It's not going to be easy for them to dig out of this hole. The Rangers with Bruce Bochy, a seasoned manager, a seasoned postseason. He's been in the postseason. He's been there before. And listen, you should know how to close out a series. And everything is saying that, pointing not in the right direction for the Orioles. Tonight, the pitching matchup, not great. You got Kramer going for the Orioles. He's, that's it. He's their third starter. He had a 13-5 record in the regular season, a 4+ ERA. So not great. He had a 1.31 WHIP. Not exactly who you want on the mound. With your season on the line, Dean Kramer pitching for the Baltimore Orioles tonight with the season on the line. Going for the Rangers is Nathan Eovaldi. So he was 12-5 in the regular season, 3.63 ERA, a 1.14 WHIP, and he pitched 144 innings. So Nathan Eovaldi, listen, the Orioles got themselves in a bad spot here. One game at a time for them. See if they can dig themselves out of the hole, get it back to Baltimore for a game 5. But it's going to take a lot to have that happen. I want to get to our interview right now. We have Jacques Taylor. The book is Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, and the Making of Men. Right there. It comes out today. So the day the book comes out, we got the author right here on Locked Up Sports. It's an interesting interview. This guy is friends with Deion Sanders. He's known him for forever, since he was on the Cowboys. Like I said, I told you last week, you know Jacques Taylor. You might not know the name, but you definitely know who he is. He was on the Sports Reporters back in the day. He wrote for the Dallas Morning News. He covered the Cowboys forever, 20, 25 years. He's still on ESPN all the time, so enjoy the interview. Here's my interview with Jean-Jacques Taylor, the author of Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, and the Making of Men. All right, so now we'd like to welcome in our guest, Jean-Jacques Taylor. He's a longtime columnist at the Daily Dallas Morning News. He covered Dallas Cowboys. He covered HBCU schools. And he's got a book out right next to me here, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders and the Making of Men. Jacques, welcome to the show.
Hey, bro. What's happening?
Not much. I was just telling him I enjoyed the book. Unless you've been living under a rock, you've heard the whole big Coach Prime and Deion Sanders and the legendary story that he's authoring at Colorado. Now, tell me about how the book came about, how you decided to write it, how you got the access. Do you know Deion from back in the Cowboy days? What's the story there?
Well, yeah, me and obviously I've known Deion since he showed. Actually, his first year in Dallas was 1995 after being 1994 Defensive Player of the Year with San Francisco. My first year on the Cowboys beat was 1995. So we kind of came in there together. Now, I like to tell folks that I didn't really have much interaction with him his first couple of years, nor did anybody else except for after games and press conferences. And then one day he was leading the league in punt returns, 97, I think. And I went up to him because he wasn't in the locker room all that often. And I said, hey, I'm trying to do this piece on the guys who blocked for you. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah, have a seat, sit down. And so he filled up the notebook. I wrote the story. I took it to him and I said, hey, here's what I wrote. And the next time he saw me, he's like, hey, I like that. Anytime you need me, come holler at me. And that just kind of began our relationship. And it just progressed over the years. Like my son went to his football camp in Dallas. I've done some various different stories on him over the years. And really what happened was I got known as a guy who had a good relationship with him. And so when Sports Illustrated was looking to do a cover story on him last year, he and the Jackson State program, they called me and said, everybody seems to think you're the guy with the best relationship with him. Can you do a piece? I said, Sports Illustrated cover story? Heck yeah, sign. And so I did that. And literally 2 days after that, I got a call from HarperCollins saying, we've been looking for somebody to write a Deion book for a couple of years. Would you be interested? And I said, yeah, let me call him and see if it makes sense, if he's cool with that, because if he's not going to give you access, then what's the point? And so it took him about 2 seconds to go, hey, it's all good. Sounds great to me. Do your thing. I got you, whatever you need. And we just.
Now he could come off kind of as like because anything Deion does, he does big. He does with a splash. He does with flair. He could come off kind of as like, a little pompous. But from what I've heard, I've never been around him, but from what I've heard, he's one of the nicest guys out there.
Well, this is what I would tell you, bro. Think about how because what you described is football Deion. Mm-hmm. Think about how his baseball teammates describe him. It sounds nothing like football Deion.
You're right.
Because at his heart, at his heart of hearts, he's really, now don't laugh when I say this, he's really kind of a quiet guy. Like he doesn't say a whole lot. He got a tight group of friends and he cuts up with that group. But other than that, he's really a quiet guy. What do you say about dudes who like to go fishing? People who like to go fishing don't talk. You know what I'm saying? They just don't. And so that's how it is. So his football persona is much different than his baseball persona, and it's much different than who he really is as an everyday man. The guy that you see, or the guy that I know, Deion is a character. Okay. I mean, Primetime is a character. Coach Prime, in a lot of respects, is a character. And if you've known him long enough, you can tell when Deion leaves and Primetime shows up.
It's when his theme music comes on, right? That's when Primetime shows up. Now you were around him for the whole season. You got all kinds of access, whatever you wanted. What kind of coach is he? Is he an X's and O's guy? Is he a rah guy? Does he scream and yell at the guys a lot? What
I would describe him like this. I would say he's a CEO coach, which means he sits at the top, and he would say stuff like, "Hey Bob, who you like at defensive tackle this week? I think Taylor should start. What do you think?" "Well, I think Walter should start."
Yeah.
"Okay, you sure about that?" "Yeah, coach, I think Walters will do a better job than Taylor." "Okay, well, I think Taylor should start, but it's your call. You do what you want to do." And then if Walters plays great, hey, great decision, no problem. And if Walters plays like crap, you're going to hear about it. "I told you Taylor was going to be better, but here's what he does. He lets you make your own decisions." He's a coach, but you get to figure out how you want to play this thing. And the coaches I talk to appreciate the autonomy, because anybody who's ever had a boss knows you can't stand a micromanager. All right, so that's one thing he does. Now, the other thing he does, which is what he's really good at, is creating opportunity for players and getting players to believe. And part of that is, and I've seen him do this, I've seen him stop a kid in the hallway and say, "Hey, you think you're ready to do something this week?" "Yes, sir." "Well, you've been asking for this opportunity, right?" "Yes, sir." "Okay, I tell you what, you've been wanting to be on special teams. We haven't had a spot. I made a spot for you. Here's your spot. I'm going to give you this week to show me what you can do." I've seen him do that in the hallway with a guy. I've seen him tell coaches, "This guy's a dog. We need to figure out how to get him the ball. I know he's not starting right now. Get him up and make sure he gets 4 or 5 touches early in the game." He does stuff like that. So when you say, does he coach? He coaches coaches. He gets his team to believe. He sets the tone for everything in terms of he's got no time for mediocrity. It's all about championship standard. It's all about doing things to the best of your ability. And then the one thing he's really good at, man, real talk, he don't do anything he wouldn't ask you to do. So that means if he sees a piece of trash on the floor, he will pick it up. He went off on the team during one game at halftime because nobody had stopped to empty the trash and it was overflowing. So he's that kind of attention to detail. And so he did the trash himself because he got mad. But that's the kind of guy he is. That's the kind of coach he is.
Now, a lot of times, great players like Deion, Hall of Famers, they either don't want to coach or they're not great coaches because they got by on their talent. You can't teach what Deion has as a cornerback in the secondary. You can't teach that. He's just a great player. Why do you think he wanted to do it? Is it because he wanted to help out with young kids? What do you think motivated Deion to actually get into coaching?
No, he's always wanted to work with kids. You got to understand, for an early part of his life, before his mom got married, he was a child of a single parent. He would tell you he was a latchkey kid, came home from school, mom left dinner on the stove. He put it on. We had no microwaves because he and I are the same age. No microwaves when we were growing up. So you got to cook it on top of the stove. And so the most influential people to him growing up were coaches. And he saw the effect that coaches had on his life, not just in terms of providing structure, but in terms of teaching him and showing him how to dream. Meaning, if you come from a small house in a rough neighborhood and you stay in my house and it's a suburban, that teaches you, oh, there's something else out there. If on the way to the ballpark, you pass all these mansions, you go, oh, I wonder what I have to do to get one of those. And so it gave him an opportunity and allowed him to dream and dream big. And then he just decided that's what I want. And so I'm going to do everything humanly possible to go get it. And that's why he has an appreciation for coaches. And then he tries to give that same thing to the kids that he coaches.
I mean, coaching college is not easy. Like you said he's a CEO. You have to be a CEO with everything that goes on. And I'm sure you saw just being around a college program that it's a massive operation, a college football program. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, he was in charge of a youth organization, and a lot of people just kind of poo-poo it and go, well, okay, so what, did you coach some 7 and 8 year olds? It wasn't that he coached 7 or 8 year olds. It's that he had an entire organization with a team of 7 and 8 year olds, a team of 9 and 10 year olds, a team of 11 and 12 year olds, team of 12 and over. And then you're taking those teams and their parents and their cheerleaders all over the country. Well, that takes a certain level of organization to be able to do that. And that's kind of where he learned the organizational part. And then you also got to remember, man, he played for the Cowboys. He played for the 49ers. He played for the Yankees.
Yep.
What he would tell you is, I know what championship teams look like. I know what championship organizations look like. I know how they function. I know how they structured. All I did was break it down to a lower level, but we keep the same standard that the Cowboys and the Yankees had. And that's what he is. Everything he does perfect, whether it's a meeting for some recruits coming in or, a meet or a dinner for the coaches. Everything is done to the highest possible standard.
And he's been, I mean, so far he's been extremely successful. Besides, a lot of people see this year what he's done at Colorado, but he was 27-6 at Jackson State. He won 2 conference titles. He's changed the way things are done almost. The way he came over to Colorado, bringing a lot of his guys, a lot of his coaching staff from Jackson State. Do you think the success that they're having with his kid at quarterback and with Travis Hunter and everything, do you think that bigger schools now might give the HBCU kids a second look now that they see how successful and that they can play in the Power 5 conference?
A few of them can play. There's no doubt about that. Now, the reality is, I think off the top of my head, he brought 8 guys with him from Jackson State. Obviously, his son could play anywhere. He was a 4-star quarterback.
And so could Hunter. Hunter was a big-time recruit, too.
Right. He was a top recruit in the country. A guy named Kevin Coleman came with him. He was a 4-star receiver. He didn't come with him to Colorado. He went to Louisville, and he's starting at Louisville, which just knocked off Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So he had some players there, but those people, it's not so much that you have players from HBCUs that can play. It's more that you have players, if they can play at that level. What's the word I want to say? If they can play at that level, they can play at that level. They could have played at any level. They just happened to play at Jackson State. Mm-hmm. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to create a situation where it's I'm trying to figure out the right way to say it. It's not that guys from HBCUs can play there per se, but I think the bigger thing is he's showing that coaches they don't have to do it this traditional way. You can get it done a lot of different ways as a coach. It doesn't just have to be, you need to do it the Nick Saban way, or you need to do it the Ryan Day way. There's a lot of the Marcus Freeman way. There's a lot of different ways to do it, because the best thing you can say about Deion is that he's authentically himself, and it doesn't matter whether you like it or don't like it. He's authentically himself.
Well, I mean, it actually reminds me. I heard, I think it was Jim Leland once, the old Pirates coach, manager, and the Marlins manager. He was doing like a forum, and he was speaking, and this mother was saying how she didn't have money to send her kid to the camp, and he's a really good player, and she doesn't think he'll get noticed without the camp. And he said, "Ma'am," he said, "listen, if your kid is good enough, we'll find him. We'll find him whether he's good enough, whether he goes to this camp or not." So these schools, they'll find the kid if he can play. Word will get out, and they'll find him. Whether he's at a HBCU school or he's in Nebraska somewhere, he's in the middle of nowhere. If he's good enough, the schools will find him. Now he won 2. Like I said, he won 2 SWAC titles. Do you think he's in this for the long haul? Is this something he wants to do, for 10, 20 years, or is it just kind of he wants to, he missed the limelight since playing? What do you think is his end game here with this?
No, I don't think it's missed the limelight by any stretch. I think it's just a situation where he wanted a bigger challenge than high school offered. He's Deion Sanders. He can't really be a guy, or he's not going to be a guy who's taking orders from somebody else. So you want to be the head guy. And so if you just want to show up at college football and be the head guy, then there's only certain jobs you're going to get, because most of them want you to show up and be an assistant. And so by the time you figure that out, Jackson State, and I kind of started the book like this. Jackson State needed him to resurrect their program because it had been in the doldrums for a decade. He needed them for an opportunity. And so he got the opportunity and took advantage of it. And now, it shows that there's more than one way to get it done. And I think that's the biggest issue.
And he worked, he didn't work his way up like some of the coaches have, and that's bothered some of the traditionalists. But he did kind of work his way up. He started at Jackson State, which, like you said, it was it was not doing very well. Its football program was not doing very well. And he worked his way up, and now he's at Colorado. Colorado wasn't a big school until this year. Nobody watched Colorado. They haven't been good since Cordell Stewart, Let's be real. And now you got Herb Street and all them doing these games. They're appointment television, his games. Do you think he wants to eventually? Because I thought he would end up at Florida State. That's where he played. That they needed the coach. They didn't choose him. It was tough for him to get a job. Do you think he'll end up there or at a bigger school?
Deion is not. The thing about Deion is he's not a guy who chases money. Okay, because he's got enough of that.
He doesn't need money.
He's a guy who tends to chase opportunity. But I think if he's happy in Colorado, I don't see him moving just to move. Remember, he's a guy who likes nature. He's a guy who likes outdoors. Every house he's ever had once he became Deion, he's had a huge pond or lake in front of it. So he likes the outdoors. And so Colorado is really built for him in that standpoint. And so when you look at it like that, I think that now I would never say what Deion will do because he could change his mind, at a moment's notice. So I would never say what he would or wouldn't do. But I don't think he's in any hurry to leave Colorado. And so it wouldn't surprise me if he was there for an extended period of time. But it's Deion, so you can just never know what he's going to do.
Now, why do you think football and not baseball? Is football his first love?
Yeah, I mean, I just think football is what he does. Football is where he was a Hall of Famer. He's a good baseball player, but he's a Hall of Fame football player. And so when you're a Hall of Famer, I think you just kind of gravitate toward your sport of choice. And I mean, he's good at it, and he enjoys it. He enjoys hanging. He's got a very tight circle, so he's got his friends with him who are coaches, much like every other Power 5 coach has got. Mm-hmm. And so I just think he enjoys the whole deal.
Now you must have explain to me what was going through your head the first week this year. Now you got a book coming out. There's a book coming out. Now he's going to be a big story either way. Watching that TCU game and them going in there into the team that was in the national finals championship game the year prior and beating them, it had to be perfect storm for you, right?
Oh, I mean, I was very I was very thrilled by it because you look and you go, you want the book to do well. And, I think he's a good coach and a good dude. And so I wanted him to get some validation that, what I was doing at Jackson State is not just, Jackson State will work anywhere and it'll work a number of places because it's a formula. The exact same thing he's doing at Colorado was everything he was doing at Jackson State. Nothing has changed. And so when it's the same like that, it's I was talking to his son Shiloh, the safety. Mm-hmm. And the one thing Shiloh said is I went up to him one day. He was eating lunch, eating a salad, as a matter of fact. And I said, I got a real quick question for you. Why does your dad win everywhere he goes? And he looked at me, and he's eating, and he looks up, he goes, he's always got the best players. And then he kept on eating. And the more you think about it, that's really what it is. The reason why he'll win at Colorado is why? He'll be able to recruit the best players because who doesn't want to play for him right now? He's got a terrific coaching staff. If you look at the coaching staff, look at the number of former head coaches who are on there, whether it's Tim Brewster at Minnesota, whether it's Sean Lewis at Kent State. You got some high school head coaches there. You got Vincent Dancy from Mississippi Valley. You got Dennis Thurman, who was a defensive coordinator in the NFL. You got 2 or 3 guys off of Nick Saban's staff. He's got coaches. When you put good coaches with good players and you got a quarterback, I mean, it's hard to lose, man.
And then you add in the fact that you're going to be a top story and the NIL money is probably going to be higher there than it will be at most places just because the publicity you're going to get if you're a top player on that team, on one of his teams.
Well, here's the other thing. The other thing is, who better in this era of NIL, who better to teach you how to market yourself, how to make money off your name, image, and likeness better than Deion? Who can teach you better how to be a brand than him? Plus, you can meet your favorite rap stars. You can meet your favorite athletes. if you're into social media and you want your Instagram numbers or your Twitter numbers or your Twitch stream numbers to go up,
They
what
all
better?
those kids want that. All those kids want that. I don't get
You
it
see
as
what I'm
much as
saying?
yeah, no,
And
yeah, you're right.
and the other thing is his program is open. Most coaches close their program. I don't want anybody around my program. Well, he opens it up, but he opens it up. Why? So he can control the narrative that gets out. Here's how I act. Here's how I act. Here's how our team acts after a tough loss, like USC. Here's how we act when we get blown out by Oregon. Here's how we act when we win at TCU. Here's how we act here's how I act when a player's misbehaved and needs to be disciplined. Here's how I act when I want to praise a player. I mean, he's putting out a recruiting video every day, and parents are just eating it up.
Yeah, now you were with them for the whole year. Did you see that? Did you notice like when maybe let's say the freshmen that came in, the freshman year that you were there, did you notice a difference in them at all over the course of the year? Maybe because of Deion?
I think that the freshmen always there's always a change, and the biggest change for them is the standard that he holds you to. And it's not just a football standard; it's a life standard. And it's a preparation standard, because the one thing that gets lost in Deion, the Hall of Fame player, is that he was the hardest working player on every team he's ever been on. Now, there's some other people who work just as hard as him, but he was never on a team where he wasn't the hardest worker or in the conversation that said, oh, these are the hardest workers. And so, he demands work, and work is on the field and off the field. Almost every college gets a report at the end of the week on which players are going to class and doing all this stuff. Well, he demands that his assistants look at the report, but then they give it to him. And I've been in his office when he's looking at it going, okay, I need to talk to this guy. He'll text the assistant, have so-and-so come see me. And he'll tell him, you got to go to class. It's not optional. If you're not playing this week. In terms of preparation, how much film are you watching? And he gets these reports, but I've seen from the assistants, because he wants everybody to prepare the way he did. He doesn't expect you to play the way he did, but he expects you to prepare the way that he did.
Now, how has he changed? What is the HBCU schools like post Deion Sanders? Is there any difference now in the way, basically, that like Jackson State? I'm not positive. I didn't look. How is Jackson State doing this year? Have they kept it up? Have they kept up recruiting? And now that he's gone?
Well, I think Jackson State is 4-2.
Okay.
They're having a solid season. They lost a big game at the start to Florida A&M. So unless Florida A&M trips, it's going to be hard for them to get back to the Celebration Bowl for a third consecutive year. But Jackson State, at one point, was a big name. Mm-hmm. All Deion did was restore that name, and so I think they're doing fine. I think you would be lying if you said there's not a difference. I mean, there's a significant difference. Even though they're still on national TV, you can still see their games. There's just a difference, and there's a vibe in the field, because why? You can't replicate the energy that a Deion Sanders brings to your program or he brings to your school. And so because you can't replicate it, it just is what it is. And and there's nothing wrong, because Jackson State was at the top of the HBCU totem pole, at the top of the ladder. And so what happened was they had for 2.5 years, this huge anomaly that made them at the top of the college football world. Mm-hmm. It'd be hard for them to stay there. So they're back to being one of the top of the highest profile schools at their level, but it's just different without all the attention and all the cameras that he brings.
Well, I mean, and that's fine. And I'm in New York here. We're not huge into college football. I'm appointment television, like I said, with the Colorado, and I did watch some of before I saw some of the Deion Jackson State games. Really, the only HBCU game I would see every year would be the Grambling Southern that NBC carried. They carried it every year. I think they still carry it.
Right.
And then you start seeing some Jackson State games on ESPN and whatnot. So he changed it right there. He gave it more exposure. Just the fact that I was able to see other games that I watched it. So and to carry that, of course, it's not going to be as big as when Deion was there. But that's big for a school, and exposure is everything when it comes to college.
No, exposure is the main thing, and nobody does it better than him. And he
Absolutely.
does it authentically. Like, he's not afraid of the camera like some coaches. He puts his players in front of the camera. That gets them used to it. I wish more coaches would take that approach. You train them, then you don't have to be so worried about what they say. And you
Yeah, they say
can,
stupid stuff though, and some of them still say some pretty stupid stuff.
well, some coaches say some stupid stuff.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
absolutely, absolutely,
It's
absolutely.
learning moments for everybody.
Now, do you think Shador is going to be an NFL quarterback?
Sure, it looks that way to me. Um, people question him at Jackson State. I didn't really question him because why? He was a top recruit coming out. He's been trained by Tom Brady and Brett Favre and Jeff Blake, the former Cincinnati Bengals quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
His mechanics are impeccable. He's got a great mind for the game. He's learned 3 different offenses in 3 different years, and you can't tell from his production. And so I tell everybody this. I said the ceiling or the floor for Shador, the floor to me would be long-time NFL backup because he'll be able to learn an offense and spit it out and tell you where I should go with the ball. And he's not going to make mistakes, and he'll be a good teammate because he's a good person. And then the ceiling, of course, would be, NFL starter and Pro Bowl caliber player.
Yeah, I mean, and he's small, right? He's small for an NFL quarterback. So, and they tend to go on the metrics. A lot of those NFL guys, and they're wrong
He's
a
not
lot
that.
about him. He's not that
He's
small. How
not
tall
that
is he?
small. I think he's 6'2", 200, 6'2", 210.
Okay. I listen. He's got the arm for it. He can make every throw that I've seen. I think he'll be all right. Now, before I let you go, I wanted to pick your brain real quick on the Cowboys. Last night they got blown out. You covered them forever. I got a bunch of Cowboy fans that are friends and that watch this show. Are they now? They probably won't be able to win the division with the Eagles in it. But how far do you think the Cowboys can go this year?
I mean, you can't ask me after, if you ask me after they beat New England 38-3, I give you a different answer than when they get stomped by San Francisco 42-10. I think they got some things to figure out about their offense. In 2 of the last 3 weeks, their defense has been exposed. And so they got to do some soul searching. They got the Chargers next week, which is a tough game because the Chargers can score points even up against a good defense. And so, right now I'd say they're still in the frame of mind where they can win, 11 games to get to the playoffs. But it ain't really about getting to the playoffs for the Cowboys. They've done that. It's about, can you have success in the playoffs? And right now, if you look at what San Francisco did to them, you look at Philly being probably the second best team, and the team nobody talks about yet because they don't respect them is Detroit. Well, the Lions are coming because they're taking Dan Campbell's personality. They play with a whole lot of energy, and they're very physical. And so the Cowboys still in the mix, but they got to do some serious regrouping, man, because they got destroyed last night, and they just didn't lose a game. They got their feelings hurt, and so
Yeah,
you can either have a party or you can come back and try to make it happen.
that was a measuring stick game. It happened early in the season. They have time. I think Dak is a good player. Hey, listen, I'm a Giants fan, as you see behind me, so it's a disaster for us. So, we're 40-0. You beat us. You can't take much out of that. The book is Coach Prime, Deion Sanders and the Making of Men. JJT, Jean-Jacques Taylor is his name. John, thank you for giving us a couple of minutes here. Appreciate it.
Hey, man, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Good luck with the book.
Hey, thanks, Bob.
All right. So thank you to JJT, Jean-Jacques Taylor, for coming on the show on the day the book comes out, giving us a whole rundown of if you didn't know Deion, you feel like you know him a little bit better now. That was, a lot of stuff there. He likes the quarterback, Sanders' kid, to play in the NFL. I think he's more towards a backup, but we'll see. Like I told him, he can make all the throws. He's been good. And I was impressed to learn that he's learned three different offenses in 3 years. That is not easy. And like you said, you can't tell. There's no dip in the stats or anything. It was against a little bit inferior opponents last year, but this year he came up and he's been good so far. And they have won the games. They won the games that they should have won, and they got the upset against TCU. So the biggest name in sports these days, of course, Deion Sanders and Coach Prime. And the book is excellent. The book runs through the whole undefeated season of Jackson State last year. They lost in the championship game. But listen, 27-6, you can't argue with what he's done, and it sounds like he wants to coach. It sounds like he wants to coach, and usually these great players are not great coaches. You can run through a bunch of them. Patrick Ewing was not good. Larry Bird was so-so. Michael Jordan was not good. Patrick Ewing, when I say that, he's a little different because what Patrick Ewing did is he started at the bottom and he worked his way all the way up. He was like a coach's assistant, and he worked his way all the way up. But look what happened when he got to Georgetown. He had that terrible year where they really didn't win a game. They won like 3 games. He won no conference games. But anyway, so Coach Prime, Deion Sanders in the Making of Men is the book. Pick it up today. You can get it at Amazon. You can get it anywhere books are sold. I will put a link in the comments. And like I said, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you're listening to the podcast, of course, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. So let's get a quick update now before I let you go. It's still 4-0 as they head to the 3rd inning in Minnesota. 4-0 Astros with a 4-run first inning. Again, last night you had the classic, instant classic, the Braves with late inning runs to basically save their season, because you're not winning. You're not going back to Philadelphia down 0-2 and getting this thing back to Atlanta. And even if you're just not winning 2 games there. So that series is 1-1. Tonight, 8 o'clock, you got the Orioles and the Rangers. Nathan Eovaldi trying to close out the Orioles against Kramer. Hey, listen, the Orioles are young. Maybe that helps them. They just kind of play. They don't think about it. They got a young team. They got a good team. Now, the Orioles are probably a year away from being as good as they're going to be, because a lot of these guys, this is their rookie year, or they came up late last year, September call-ups. This is their first taste of the postseason. But, not a good start. Not a good start, especially coming off the bye. And you know what these couple of games now show you is the bye. Does the bye really help you? Look, you got the Braves who were flat through the first 16 innings without scoring a run. You get almost a week off. You haven't had a week off since the All-Star break. In fact, you haven't had a week off all season, because you don't even get the week off at the All-Star break. So the Braves came out, they were flat. The Orioles got the bye, they came out, they lost the first 2. Now they're in a 0-2 hole. The Astros lost the first game that they played. So these teams, with the bye, you got to start going forward. You got to think, is the bye a detriment? Because baseball, you play baseball every single day since April. You get a day off here and there, but you basically play baseball every day. You have a game every day. That's what baseball is. It's an everyday thing. And now you get a week off, and then you got to just turn it right back on, flip the switch. And the offenses seem to be having trouble, especially now. It's a little chilly in some of these spots. So we'll see. 4-0 Astros, bottom of the second. Orioles, Rangers later tonight, and then tomorrow it's back to the National League. Actually, tomorrow all 4 series are played. The Dodgers are in big trouble. The Dodgers are a game away from losing. They don't have the pitching. They're not hitting. They're giving up runs, 9 runs in the first inning to the first 2 games. They are in big trouble, as Arizona is up 2-0 heading back home. And that would be a shock. Arizona's a good young team, but I did not see them making it to the NLCS, and now they are 9 innings away from possibly doing so. So that does it for us. Again, we want to thank JJT, Jean-Jacques Taylor, for giving us a couple minutes. Again, the book, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders in the Making of Men, it's out today. Today it comes out. Pick it up. It's a great book. It goes through the whole season. Last year, Coach Prime, he had access to everything in the athletic, in the football program. Anything he wanted, he got. He's a good friend of Deion Sanders. He knows him well. He's a respected, award-winning sports writer. So get the book. You're going to enjoy it, I promise. Until this weekend, we will talk with Brett. Brett will be back this weekend. And hey, we'll talk to you. Enjoy the baseball games. Enjoy the football game on Thursday night. I'm not even sure who's playing, to be honest with you. Last night, the Raiders beat the Packers, if you care. They beat them by a touchdown or by 4 points. 17-13 was the final. Packers were driving late. Love threw a pick in the end zone, and that sealed the deal. The Raiders win. Packers. Those are two teams who are going nowhere. The Packers may be a little better than we thought they were, but they're not great. Jets and Giants did not talk about today because you can't talk about the Jets and Giants anymore. I needed a break from that. We got baseball going on. That's the big story. And, of course, the interview with Jean-Jacques Taylor. So I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for tuning in. Again, don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe. That pretty much does it. We'll talk to you later, everybody. Thanks for watching. See ya.